Welcome to the Twinkl Talks EYFS podcast. Working in the early years is busy, funny, messy, and exhausting. Join me, Shana, some of the Twinkl EYFS team, special guest speakers, and other early years practitioners as we talk honestly about our experiences. Whether you're listening for CPD, on your commute, or to help you relax, Twinkl EYFS will share everything you need to know about all things early years. Hello, lovely listeners. It's Shana here from the Twinkl Talks EYFS podcast, and I've got another episode in our mini-series of Twinkl Talks EYFS around the world. And we're going to be a little bit closer to home today and on TikTok live with Amy from Twinkl Northern Ireland. Again, it's just like Scotland. Just because we think they're so close, we think we've got the same curriculum. We don't. There's actually a lot of differences. And Amy has been kind enough to join us to tell us all about it. So we're going to get straight on with the show, but if you would like to watch us as well as listen us, pause right here and go onto the Twinkl EYFS YouTube channel and go and find our video recording of our TikTok live there. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to a live event, a live podcast episode of Twinkl Talks EYFS. If you haven't joined us before, my name is Shana and I am the manager of the Twinkl EYFS team here in England. And we've been going on an adventure, Amy. We've been going around the world from our living rooms. And it's very fitting that today we go to Northern Ireland to meet you, Amy, which is great. So it's lovely to have you here. Before we get started, everybody who is watching live, hey, now some of you have already seen that we've got a comment section. We're going to be talking about loads of really interesting things, so please feel free to use the comments and ask us anything that comes up, and we'll do our best to read them out and answer your questions for you. So I'm going to stop talking now because it's been a lot. Amy, over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself to our lovely listeners?
Thank you very much. Yes, well, I am Amy, and I am the early years manager for Northern Ireland with Twinkl. I've been here about over 2 years now and loving it. I sort of came up through, like everybody else, I think, out in education, early years, primary schools, and then fell into Twinkl's hands and have been loving it ever since. So yeah, it's so good to be on here and be able to chat to everybody and maybe give you an insight into Northern Ireland that you didn't know. Or
I definitely think so. Good, I'm great. And a little surprise for our listeners. Me and Amy both have the same birthday, so it's totally like meant to be. This is what we're supposed to. This is why we're here. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So I don't know where to start really, because actually I do know where to start, because I was speaking to Fiona from Scotland a couple of weeks ago, and the first thing that a lot of people might come to their mind is, well, hang on a minute, Shana, why are you talking to someone from Northern Ireland? They're using the same cricket, it's part of the UK, it's part of Great Britain. There's not going to be a lot different, is there? Or is there, Amy?
There is, I think, actually quite a big difference between Northern Ireland and the UK education-wise, especially in the early years. A lot of the sort of, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I even think starting age in school and things are actually different over here than they might be in England. I think Northern Ireland is one of the youngest.
What age?
Well, for primary school, you can start on your 4th birthday.
What?
Yeah, so you can start depending on when you're born. Now there was an act brought in, I think it was last year, after COVID and things like that, where parents could actually defer the start of your sort of school years depending on where your birthday fell. Obviously, because if you were like a April to June baby, then you would be classed as sort of the youngest of the class. So if you were one of those children, your parents could actually choose to defer you until your 5th birthday, so that you would actually be not the youngest in the class, which is quite interesting. So yeah, that is now. I get correct me if I'm wrong. What age do you start actually primary school at in England?
5 years old.
5.
And you can defer as well, so that
Yeah.
because I
See,
had a
that's
couple of
only come in to Northern Ireland there last year. So you could have started when you were 4 over here, which is quite young. And I think that's why
yeah.
then they brought that in because it was never an option then over here. I think a lot of sort of kids were struggling a wee bit, especially when they were against maybe children who were nearly a full year ahead of
So
them.
when they started primary at 4 years old, did they go into reception?
We don't have reception. So what we have in Northern Ireland is, so you would go to preschool. Well, you can go to any, you can go to daycare, you can go to playgroup, all those sorts of things that aren't compulsory before you go to preschool. Preschool also is not compulsory, and you can get funded places by the Department of Education to go to preschool, but as I said, it's not compulsory. And then you've got nursery, and then you've got primary one. And primary one would be classed as foundation stage. So foundation stage would be primary one and primary two. And then you go into key stage one, which is 3, 4, 5, and then key stage three. No, sorry. Key stage one is 3 and 4. Key stage two is 5 and 6, and then I think sort of 6, 7 is key stage 3, going into high school really. So yeah, ours is quite different. There is no reception. There's no any of the development matters. It doesn't apply over here, because I go through Twinkl all the time. Always like
Yeah.
development matters, all that sort of stuff, and that's not over here. So it
Wow.
is actually quite a lot different than what you
Yeah.
think.
And also, I heard something you said there that if you were born in April to June, you would be the youngest. And that's interesting because in England, April is considered springborn, and it's actually from May to August that you're considered the youngest of the
Yeah.
year. So does that mean your term times are different?
Yes, our term times are different years because we get 8 weeks summer holidays.
What? Okay, I'm moving to Ireland. Like,
Yes,
this
we
is.
get 8 weeks summer holidays, so we finish the last week of June, and then we don't go back until normally we don't go back until sort of the second last week in August, sort of. Teachers would start to go back
Oh.
in the middle of August, and then you wouldn't really start back into school until sort of the last week or possibly the week before the last in August. So
So does that mean August borns are your oldest?
yes, well, let me get this right. If you're July, August, or September, your class is the oldest in the year group, and then if you're like April, May, June, you are the babies of the group.
That's so funny. That is literally like the opposite of like if you were born in August in England, you are the youngest of the year. That is so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
This is what I mean. This is why we're doing this like mini series because you're
Really, you
across
really
the
wouldn't
river. I
think.
wasn't say across the river.
I know.
No,
You really
you.
wouldn't think though that we are so close, but yet everything is so different. And then again, now I don't know much about it, but Northern Ireland and Ireland are completely different again, and we are all in the same
Exactly.
place.
Literally, yeah. You can like wave to Ireland and be like, "Hey,"
Yeah,
but
so
completely different things.
everything is so different.
I love it, but that's why it's so important to do things like this because like early years is so different across the world, but also there's so many things that we do together without even realizing it. And I think it's also really nice to look at like, I mean, so maybe we want to move. Perhaps, with everything that's going on in England at the minute, some people, me, might think, it's not the best place for teachers at the minute in England. So, well,
Yeah,
what are other countries doing?
at the moment, I don't know if Northern Ireland is the best place either. But
Um,
um, to be fair, I love Northern Ireland. I wouldn't move, but I know that sort of there's a lot going on teachers wise. Our sort of parliament and everything else is a bit of a shambles over here. So like our whole Department of Education, our education minister, like the teachers are fighting hard at the minute, and it's the same over in England. But yeah, it's sort of the same everywhere, I think, across the board, really, when it comes to education,
Mm.
just funding and things like that. Like, it's really sort of struggling, but I think that's sort of a world problem after COVID and things like that. So there's not much really
Yeah.
we can do about it, unfortunately.
No. And it's quite sad, isn't it? But I feel like it is also a unique thing to early years as well. Like obviously all schools are being affected, but
Yeah,
early years is so unique because we require such different things. We require more physical labor during the day. Like the kids
yeah,
are not sitting at the desks. We are literally running around after three after 3 year olds
yeah,
all day. Different hours because if we've got early years private early years settings, they're open 7 till 7. They do shift work. Staffing is always an issue, and wherever you go. But the resourcing, the funding, like it's such a unique department to work in. I love it, but then yeah, it also brings challenges that unfortunately, like you say, seem to be in quite a few places at the minute. But you know
yeah.
what
Well,
we
that
can
is
do,
the
Amy?
thing.
We can stick together though, can't we?
We can. That's what we're here to do. We're here to make it easier for all the rest of the early years people out there.
We're hoping
But
so. We're
I
hoping
sort
so.
of, I do miss, although I love my job and I love what we do, like I do miss being out with the kids all the time and stuff like that. But um, at least we're making a difference from this side of things.
Well, I hope so. I
Hopefully.
hope so.
Hopefully.
Okay, so first things first for me, before we even get into the classroom in Northern Ireland, how do you train to be an early years practitioner or teacher? How do you get there? What kind of courses, degrees, pathways can you go through?
Yeah, there is quite a few sort of pathways that you can take to get into early years. My own path, might as well start with it because I know it the best. So I went through school. I got through right until sort of what we would call sixth year in our high school, which would be the top two levels where you would then do your A levels.
Mm.
And instead of doing A levels, I chose to do my level three diploma in childcare and education, which was sort of like it, my school sort of offered those kind of courses that you could actually do in tech as well, but my school did it within the school building, which was great because then I didn't have to move.
Mm.
And I did that and got my qualification through that. So that was 2 years I did of that. And then once I finished there, I then applied for my early childhood studies in Stranmillis College University in Belfast. And I studied then there for my Bachelor of Arts
Oh.
in early childhood studies for 3 years and got that, and then that then qualified me to be an early years educator. So now it obviously is quite specific in what you can then go in to work as. Obviously you can also then go and do your level five. So I did my level three when I was in school. You can also do your level five if you didn't go and do your degree, and then that would qualify you to sort of manage early years settings as well. The early years degree then would be even higher than that again. So there are lots of sort of different options. You can go to sort of a tech, you can go to uni, you can obviously do some stuff through school like I did. So there is a lot of different options. University wise over in Northern Ireland, there isn't. Unfortunately, over here, teaching wise as well, if you wanted to go into teaching, there's really only one slash two unis in Northern Ireland that actually you can go to. So
Oh
most of the
wow.
people in Northern Ireland who want to go and teach have to go away to England. Um, so yeah, it is a bit tricky. It's very, very competitive as well because obviously there is only two colleges in two universities in Northern Ireland for teaching. Which is why a lot of them people do maybe their undergrad and then go and do their PGCE away. So yeah, it is kind of competitive. Even in the early years, it's very competitive because there's not that many places university wise if you want to go to that level. But it is possible. So yeah, that was my sort of path. And yeah, as I said, there's lots of different. You can do like HNDs, you can do sort of MVQs, different things like that, which would all be through sort of tech colleges and things like that. But lots of people have sort of drifted into early years in lots of different ways as well. So it's not just, you don't have to specifically go in through that route as well. So, and I know an awful lot of teachers who've gone on to do, who've studied their teaching and then realised actually I really like early years and then dropped down into the younger ages. So it really is very varied. I don't know if it's particularly different to the UK or anywhere else. But yeah, that's sort of options that you can go into through Northern Ireland.
I mean, it's not too dissimilar to what you said, like in terms of the different like college or school or levels and things like that. But it's actually interesting now that you say that there's only two universities in the whole of Northern Ireland that actually provide the teaching qualification. I had a partner teacher in reception, and she was from Northern Ireland, and that's exactly what she did because she said it was so competitive.
Yeah.
It was just there were more options in England, so she lived in Northern Ireland her entire life, then came over, did a PGCE, and we were partner teachers together.
Yeah.
So
It is
yeah,
very, very competitive, and the two universities, well, they are sort of branched or sister universities of Queen's University in Belfast, which is obviously well known. But Stranmillis, and then there would be St Mary's. Now, St Mary's, don't quote me on this if I am wrong, but I'm nearly positive that you have to be able to speak Irish to go to St Mary's.
ah,
So that also then means that there's a really select amount of people then can go to St Mary's over Stranmillis. So it is very, very competitive because obviously not everybody in Northern Ireland speaks Irish. So that then means that there's technically, for some people, only one university that they can choose to go to. I know a
gosh.
lot of my friends, a lot of my year, and even years above and below have all gone to UK, Liverpool, things like that to do their qualification because it is just so, so competitive. So it is,
Ah,
that's one thing. And another thing I would sort of um, wish that Northern Ireland would bring in would sort of be over in England, I'm nearly sure, I think I looked into it at one stage when I was younger, is sort of um, getting your degree through practical
that's what I
placements,
did.
things like that, where we don't have
Schools
that.
Direct, it's called.
Yeah, we don't have any of that, so you can't do that over here. You do placements while you are in university, but you can't sort of work in that while getting your degree, if you get me, which you can
Mm.
then over in England, which is it's a pain.
Yeah, it sounds it. Is it the same for nurseries, like actually working in there as well? Because you said it was quite competitive to even train, and that some of universities only accept people who can speak Irish. Are there a lot of nurseries that will say that about practitioners? Like you can only work here if you've got the Irish language as well? Is it quite common?
Not really. There would be Irish medium schools over here which speak Irish on a daily basis and teach in Irish and things like that. They are growing actually over here and things like that. Mostly it would be integrated schools, which would be both, and then stuff like that. So no, not really. If you wanted to particularly go and work in an Irish medium school, you would need your Irish
Mm.
language, and you would need to know how to educate in Irish as well. So yes, if you were looking to go down that path, but any other path, no, you don't. It's not necessary, and a lot of places wouldn't really ask because it is growing now the amount of people who can speak Irish over here, but it's not it, it's still not as popular as just
Mm.
the English language. So now it is sort of competitive to get into nurseries, but then again, it's probably the same over with you. It's very sort of female dominated workplace, and lots of women go off and have children or things like that. So there is always nursery jobs, and I think at the moment, especially with wages and things like that, people are just going off to different jobs because they need more
Mm.
money.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, early years over here is not paid well.
No.
So
Do you get like apprentices and things as like that as well? Are you able to do that?
Not really. No, if you were, the only way really would be placements through sort of your tech or your university or things like that. But now, if you, I'm pretty sure if you are sort of going into that field of work, a school or a nursery or things like that would allow you to come in and get experience. But mostly they would ask for you to have a qualification of some sort before
Wow,
coming
okay.
in. But a lot of classroom assistants and stuff, which obviously would be more primary schools, so it's sort of edging out of EYFS. But you sort of just need your GCSEs, your A levels, things like that. And they do like experience, but you don't actually need qualification. Where early years would be a wee bit more specific. Although if you were sort of a nursery assistant, they wouldn't mind too much if you didn't have a specific qualification. A lot of the
Yeah, I
big
mean,
nurseries I've worked in have sort of a lot of them have been qualified, because if you're qualified, that's the field of work you want to go into. But there's also been a lot of girls who have come in after school and sort of just stayed there ever since and sort of grown up in the place, which is quite nice as well.
well, this is what I did that. It sounds really lame, but my first ever teaching job and my first training when I did my schools direct was at the primary school that I went in when I was a little girl, and it was really nice. A bit awkward for my teachers who taught me, and then here I was in the staff room, like, yeah, hey, they were like, you make us feel so old, but that's kind of how you do it, like especially in early years, it's such a practical thing, and you don't really know the job until you do the job. It's such a unique thing
Yeah.
that, like, for us, it would be it's vital to have apprentices and student teachers and student practitioners, because we need the staff, because I'm sure, like in Northern Ireland, staffing and ratios is just a whole other minefield. But also, I learned so much more being in the classroom than I did at university. I'm not saying that university is terrible, it's not. It gave me all the theory and things like that. But it's one thing to say, this is what a classroom should do, this is what a
Yeah.
classroom should like. And then you've actually got 44 3-year-olds. Two are like, I don't know, ripping up all of the books. You've got five having a Poonami in the role play area. Like, that's just what life is. And
Yeah.
for us, that's vital.
And that's why I do think Northern Ireland should bring in a practical way of getting your qualification, because there's so many people that I know that, yes, like to get into Strumulus, you do an interview, a face-to-face interview with a panel of people, and you talk about lots of different things. And it just, in my mind, it doesn't make sense, because I'm like, that's not what you do with a bunch of children, and that's not how you like. How does that show you whether they will be good at teaching or educating or caring for children?
Yeah.
But I don't do. I have nothing to do with it, so I just don't know. But
Say no more.
it sort of confuses me. I don't know why, but yeah,
I get
I
you.
think that's
And
important,
look,
the placements as well, because we were lucky enough to get the chance to go into every sort of age range and every type of early
yes.
years setting, which was great, because then you sort of got to see which one you liked the most. But not even for that, just to actually realize this is actually what you do. It's not sitting in a lecture listening to a lecturer for 3 hours
No.
talking about something that's just right over your head.
Right. And I don't want to, maybe it's just me, but when I went to university, it wasn't like, it was primary as a whole. So, like, from 3 years old to 11. And I can count on one hand how many of those lectures and seminars was specifically for early years. And I was just like, why am I like,
Yeah.
okay, why am I learning how to teach the bus stop method or like whatever? Because it's like, I know I want to be my placement is in early years. I know, why am I, so, and we've got the wonderful Twinkl at Key Stage 2 joining us. Hey, and they also say experience over university all the time. Thank you. Now, let me just play like fair. Obviously, in early years, there is quite a bit of difference in terms of qualification for a reason, because they're such young children. We have to do things like potty training, feeding, weaning, all of that stuff for babies. It is a very health and social care skill as well. So I can definitely see why some nurseries would be like, look, we can't quite trust you with the babies just yet because you haven't got your qualifications. But once you do, and I can see that because it is such a vulnerable time for children, and that I feel like as practitioners we do have to do a lot of the personal care much more.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a balance, hasn't
That's
there?
that's sort of an area where I loved when I was in early years. I I worked in every single setting that you could think of when it comes to care or education. So, but see a day like a day nursery where there was a baby room, a toddler room, preschool. I just loved that. Like I loved. I'm a very sort of maternal, like love all the wee baby stuff, things like that. When I was in there, and you sort of got to watch these children just grow into little adults, and it was just I loved that, and I love the vulnerability of children of that age where the world was so exciting, and you think in your head and you're like, oh, I wish I thought like that all the time.
Yeah,
The
it's
world
just so
would be a much
magical,
nicer place. But like all
right?
the feeding and the those life experiences of weaning and potty training and things like that, like you don't a lot of people never experience that, and I think that's, to me, that would be really sad because it's such an amazing time. And when a parent, the most amazing part for me was when a parent would come to me and ask me sort of a question on parenting, and I was like I'm not a parent right now, and it's like that was really lovely to me that
Mm.
they actually thought, oh yeah, like she knows what she's doing, and I would like to ask her a question when they're actually the one with a child, and it was just lovely. Like I love that sort of side of things.
Yeah, and this is another thing as well, and I'm not sure if it's just for England or it's just across the world, but like there's no like university course on being a parent. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't even, because I don't have children now either. I cannot imagine having a child and raising a child at any age, let alone birth to three, without doing my degree and without doing my teaching, because I'm like, I would never have known the development stages, the milestones, the
Yeah.
what to do if, when, like, and parents don't get that, and that's really terrifying. So I feel like as well, we've got that added pressure of, helping parents support their earliest children because there's
Yeah.
so much that goes on in those first 5 years. 90% of your brain is developed in those first 5 years. And there's so many new things that, we're learning to walk, to talk, to eat, to poop, like there's so many
Yeah.
things that you just
But
think, hang on a minute,
it's things you'll do for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, school is so vital and the things that you learn in school, but like in the early years, these are things that actually make you into who you are, and it is so vital to have the
yeah,
support and things like that for parents as well. Like it is crazy the amount of
yeah.
things that you actually don't realize that go on when you have children. Do you know what I mean?
No,
So
I would be I would be a terrible mother if I did not have my degree. Those poor children. Thank goodness I became a teacher. Phew. Oh, we've got a lovely comment here from XOXO. Thanks for the kisses and hugs. I'm a reception teacher, and the progress the children make is amazing. I agree. I feel like we're such a special time because you can see such progress in such a short amount of time. They really, like you say,
yeah.
grow up, and that is so special to watch.
This is what I say all the time, and then when it comes to wages and things like that, and I know it's always going to be a battle, and it'll never be completely the way everybody wants it to be. But over here anyway, I could make more money flipping burgers in McDonald's than I
Oh,
could
100%.
teaching a child how weaning them, teaching them how to use the potty, teaching them language, teaching them everything that they're going to use to then grow up in this world, and it just baffles me, and it really annoys me. I have
Don't
this
even.
argument with my husband all the time, and I'm like,
I feel like I mean, there's already like a mini revolution going on in the UK, I think, about how early years teachers and teachers in general are treated. But like you say, we are literally growing the future generation. Like we're giving them life skills. Like, I mean, why are we not appreciating? I could go into this. Don't get me started now, Amy. Don't get me started. This is not what it was.
On here all night long.
Exactly. But let's think about then the other difference, and I think this is quite a big one. The curriculum. So we have the EYFS framework from the government, and then you can use the non-statutory documents like development matters or birth to five matters to sort of, have a focus on the curriculum and what areas you want to do. You don't have that. What do you have?
No, we just have our sort of Department of Education curriculum. So it sort of is split into obviously your school curriculum, which would be from P1, primary 1 to primary 7. But you also then have your preschool curriculum. So it sort of covers all the areas of like personal, social, and emotional development, physical development and movement, language development, the arts, early mathematical, let me get the world around us, all that sort of stuff. So that's sort of the preschool curriculum that most places would then follow. When it comes to sort of, there are standards and things like that for day nurseries and other early years settings and things like that. But they wouldn't fall under the early years. Sorry, they wouldn't fall under the Department of Education. They would go then to like sort of the early years team instead. So you would be the, what's that called? Just forgot the name. Your sort of
local authority
inspections. Your sort of inspections would be done by different people. So if you're like primary school, P1 to P7, it's done differently than it is done in nursery, or nursery is then done differently as it is in then daycare, and things like that. So it is quite different. Now a lot of the stuff, because I look at it all the time, and all the stuff that comes out of EYFS England is amazing, the resources and things like that on Twinkl. A lot of it can be used in Northern Ireland as well, because all of the sort of typical aims of development and care and things like that are sort of the same, but it's just labelled different. So as I said, we don't have birth to 3 matters or development matters or any of that stuff. It's more just sort of the sort of curriculum stuff, and then the care and social care side of things as well. So it is slightly different.
I think the biggest difference for me is the fact that, so your primary 1 is like foundation stage, right? So reception.
Yes.
Is that nursery and reception, and so nurseries and preschool and reception are on completely different curriculums. That's weird to me, because in England, birth to 5, preschool, nursery, reception, we're all in one bit. And then like it's the others. No, I'm joking. Like it's not like that. But it's we're together.
Yeah, our foundation stage, which would be P1 and P2, is on the same curriculum as it would be from P1 to P7. And then our sort of preschool curriculum, now it's the same. It comes from the same people. It comes from the Department of Education. It's just outlined differently, which is probably very helpful, because you don't want to have to read all the rest of the stuff that you don't have to care about. So it is just sort of like simplified into what you specifically need for that age group and things like that, and obviously ratios change, things like that. But yeah, that is sort of the main difference between over here and the UK. But it even confuses me. I have a couple of family members and stuff who are live over in England, and when it comes to holidays or even what year group they're in, they're like, well, I'm in this year group, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, we're P1 to P7, and then you go into first year and up to high school, blah 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 blah. So that is the confusing part for me.
I mean, imagine if you've got friends who've got children who were born in August. Like, they'll be in a completely different year group if they were in England to Northern Ireland. That's really funny to me.
Yeah, I know.
But the areas of learning seem quite similar. I know, like you said, they've got different names. So you've got communication and language, physical development, personal, social, and emotional development, Literacy, maths, understanding of the world, expressive arts and design. Those were the kind of similar words to the titles that you were using too, which is actually quite comforting.
Yeah, no, it is basically exactly the same, just worded slightly differently. So it does show that we're all learning the sort of same things. And I guess those are the key main areas of learning that children at that age need to have. So it makes sense that it is the same. And I'm sure sort of across the world it is. You know, those areas fall into lots of different places because those are the particular areas that you need. But it's quite comforting to know that we're all sort of on the same wavelength of some sort.
Yeah. Can you imagine if like one of the curriculums was like computing or something? We'd be like, we're not doing, like, why are we not doing that? But yeah, it's quite similar. One thing I found really interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is that when I was talking to Fiona from Scotland, right? And their early years curriculum starts from pre-birth. I know. Like, I've never heard anybody, any other country do that. Like, they have things in place for pre-birth children. Like, does Northern Ireland have
we
that?
don't have like framework. It's more called like when you sort of go before nursery school and preschool curriculum. It's then sort of just called framework and things like that. Like it's not curriculum. Like curriculum when you start really when you're sort of going into education. If you understand me, but okay, yeah. When it comes to nursery and stuff, there is an awful lot of things from birth, but like I don't know of a whole lot of things before birth. That over here, that sort of, but that is very interesting because
isn't it?
You need like you learn from the minute now you are
conceived.
Conceived.
Yeah. Everyone struggles. They're like, how do we say they've made the baby? How do we say that? You got there, well done. Conceived.
Well, I was actually nearly gonna say by the time they're born, but then in my head I was like, I can't because it's pre-birth. So
yeah,
it's like,
I know.
What is it?
In the tubby curriculum. I don't know. It's fun.
I think that's what we should name it that.
The tummy curriculum. Mine will be a bit different. Do food babies count as well? Because that's all that I'm packing in here. That's all that I've got. Anyway, enough about me. The typical day in early years. So you say you've got like day nurseries and private nurseries, and also your foundation stage or your P1 and 2. What does the typical day look like? Like, do you start early? Do you have different shifts like our private nurseries do? Do you have set timetables?
Yeah, I think in every early years, settings are nearly different. As I said, I've worked in a lot of them. So day nurseries, obviously, because they are from you can go to a day nursery nearly from you're about 4 months old if that's what needs be. So they normally typical day for day nurseries would be sort of opening their doors at 7, maybe 7:30 in the morning, closing them at 6, 6:30 at night. So just all day wraparound care. The preschool obviously would be a wee bit different because some of those private nurseries still offer preschool funded places. So now those would obviously maybe come into place where you come in at 9 and then you leave at 12 or 1. But there are also children then who are in preschool who are still in the daycare side of things, where they are there from 7 to 6 at night. So it is quite different. Nursery would be more school hours. So, well, actually shortened days, obviously, because they're young. So nursery would maybe start at, say, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then would finish maybe sort of 12:30, 1 o'clock. But then there's also then sort of 2 sessions. So one would run in the morning, one would run in the afternoon with 2 different classes. So same thing, like then when you go into foundation stage, it's just a set school day. P1, over here you don't normally start full days until I think it's after Christmas, so after the first sort of big stint. So you'd maybe stay until let's say 12:30, 1 o'clock. No, mostly 1 o'clock, and then once you sort of settle into school, then you would stay until 2 o'clock. So you'd have that extra hour after that. And then when you move up to school, then it would be most kids stay till 3. So and you'd start school about between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. So yeah, it is. They are quite varied, but a lot of them stick to sort of the same timings and things like that, unless it's sort of like more of a care setting than an education setting. But then you have playgroups as well. You have playgroups as well that run maybe out of churches, things like that, which maybe run as well as sort of the nursery would maybe run. You could maybe start at I don't know, 10 o'clock and finish at maybe 12:30, maybe a couple of hours, or there's ones that run longer than that. So there are lots of different options, but obviously a lot of those aren't compulsory, and it depends on whether you want to as a parent or not. But yeah, school days are pretty set and similar to other places, I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference there is when you go into P1, you say they go full time after Christmas. That's like a whole term to settle in, which I think is really good. I think there's quite a big focus over here about getting them in as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And a lot of children might be okay with that, but when I was in nursery and I had a little child who had just turned 3 and they had a week of transition, like it made my heart sink. Like, they've literally just turned 3 and you're expecting them to settle, and we'd just gone through COVID as well, so they literally hadn't experienced the outside world for their entire life. And I was just like, ugh. So that sounds really positive that you do give them time.
It is, and I definitely think it works as well for a lot of children, because if they don't go to any sort of education or care setting before they go to primary school, then it is a big shock to the system. And being in somewhere away from your parents for that length of time, maybe you've never done it, and it does. Right. I think it definitely does make a difference. And over COVID, over in Northern Ireland, they actually brought in sort of like they would bring in teachers who didn't actually have a class. And what they would do is they would take individual children out, especially in P1 and P2, who maybe were more affected by COVID and missed learning or things like that. And they would take them out and maybe cover areas that they felt they needed a little bit more help in and stuff like that, which was really, really good. I think the P1 teachers especially, I think, really noticed a difference, because it meant that they had the time to teach what they had planned, but at the same time they weren't letting those children fall behind in the areas that maybe they needed a little bit more help in. So that was really good, and actually they ran it again this year, I'm nearly positive. So they have kept it going, which was great, and I think it really did make a difference, because COVID really did sort of social aspect of things for kids was really, really difficult. For me it was difficult. And I'm not a child.
Well, I'm a child on the inside, and I found the whole process difficult. So I feel like these poor kids.
Did you work with in early years? I think a wee bit.
We're just letting our inner child be free, and I love it, and that's totally fine. Speaking of love, what is your favourite thing about working in early years in Northern Ireland? What do you love about it the most?
There's so many things. It's so hard to pick one specifically. As I sort of said earlier, it's just, for me, it would be the excitement in me or a child when they've learned something or they've understood something that maybe they didn't. I'm very much, I sort of, in my career, I sort of specialised a lot in SEND, and it's sort of quite close to my heart. And when a child, I worked with one-to-ones and other things like that, and when a child picked something up that maybe they'd really struggled with, and the delight on their face and how it made me feel, it made me feel like I just won the lottery, and they'd only learned how to maybe write their name or something. It's something so simple, and I think it's just that really for me is the thing I love most about early years, is because you get that nearly on a daily basis. Like, children are learning and exploring and finding things out in every aspect. Like, you could give them a cardboard box and they would still learn something, and it's like it's just amazing.
It's
So
cute, isn't it? And you
yeah,
get caught up in it. Like, I feel like a lot of things we would take for granted because it's just what we know and what we've done. But like, for example, if they see a caterpillar for the first time in the outside area and the pandemonium that then ensues and they're like, what's this? And everyone crowds around and they talk and it's so exciting. You think, oh yeah, that's actually look at this little beautiful miracle of nature. Yeah, let's get excited about this. Like
but then the
it's
learning that can
great.
stem from that little creature is incredible. Like
Yeah.
what you can sort of develop from that, which is what I love. Like when you get to a certain age in school and things like that, there isn't that sort of excitement and education, and the exploring sort of wears away and you know a lot already, where in the early years, like a stone is so exciting. I love it. It's like the best thing
A
ever.
leaf. Oh my God, a leaf.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Like it's just that's what I love most about early years.
Me too. And we've got someone in the comments who agrees with us from Keep Smiling. It's crazy how something small opens so much of their imagination up. I love it. Right? I feel like we could learn so much from children as well because they can take that inspiration from seemingly nothing. And you're like, oh yeah, that's a good. Oh, I didn't think of it that way. Like kids are great in early years.
I think we definitely need to see the world from a child's perspective more often. Like I just think when we get old and everything gets the same, and you've seen that leaf 500 times, and it's not exciting anymore. It's like just find that inner child and get excited about the smallest things, and life would be so much better.
Amy, we could heal the world. We could heal the world with this. Let's just release our inner child through early years. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. Keep Smiling also says, I managed to keep them entertained with a tiny alien for a whole week. Brilliant! There you go. I love it. Each time an aeroplane went, I was like, quick, hide, it's the UFO. That's brilliant. You know what? I'm going to nick that idea. That is great. I am obsessed with that. It's a UFO coming for the alien. I love it. Oh, speaking of things we love, we've got to play a little game for the end of our TikTok live episode. Are you ready? It's called... Oh, look at that. She's got her game face and everything. It's called Would You Rather Teacher Edition. Okay, so we've learned a lot about, some pretty cool stuff about early years. We want to learn a bit more about you, Amy. Okay, so would you rather tea or coffee?
Coffee. I do not like tea.
What's wrong with tea? Why? I'm so English. Like, what's wrong with tea?
I don't know. I've always wanted to like tea. I just don't like it. But I love a good cup of coffee.
Maybe you've just not tried the right. Did you know there were like loads of different teas, Amy? Like you can get fruit teas. I've got a caramel brownie tea.
To be fair, only in the last year, maybe, a berry tea. Oh, I have been enjoying a berry tea, but that's because it doesn't taste like tea. It tastes like berries, and I like berries. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having tea.
That's true. That's true. Okay, what kind of coffee is it then?
Oh, any coffee. I like any coffee.
Just really strong caffeine. Anything else doesn't matter.
Strong caffeine. Do like a little latte if I go out and maybe do a coffee shop or something like that. But any coffee.
And it needs syrup for me. Like I need that like black coffee without like sugar. I just no, it needs to be
a black coffee kind of person. I can drink it, but no. Yeah, like a wee caramel syrup or something.
What about an Irish coffee? Never had one, but they look delicious.
It's not something I would have ever. Really.
Maybe we should try it. We should do some research. Next question: would you rather a hot climate or a cold climate for your holiday?
Definitely more of a hot person.
Right, for me it's a no-brainer. Like who would choose to be cold? Who would do that?
I do love exploring countries, and I don't mind if it's cold or warm or whatever, but it's just getting it. I think it's because we live in the UK, like we don't get sunshine. So why would we choose to go away somewhere that doesn't get sunshine? Just makes no sense.
Right, we're already cold. Why do we want more of that?
For more rain and cloud. Like no,
I know.
No, thank you.
Like no, it's exactly. I agree with you. And for me, there's no such thing as too hot. Like people will go, oh, it's too hot. No, more please.
Yeah,
Like I'm in a
like,
jumper right now. It's like not. I think it reached 19 degrees today. I'm in northwest England.
oh, lovely.
And I've got a t-shirt on and a jumper. I'm like, now this is cold to me.
I
Ramp
know
it up. This is
all
ridiculous.
the And I live in
Yeah,
Northern
but
Ireland, like,
you know what they say, don't they, though? Cold hands, warm heart, babes.
yeah,
That's what we've got. I love it.
I agree.
Last question, but certainly not the least. Would you rather hockey or rugby? Now, is this to play or to watch? Maybe let's do both.
Well, that is the question. I play hockey, so
Ooh.
I love a good bit of hockey to play. Yes, I like to watch it at a high level. At sort of standard level, it can get quite scrappy. So I wouldn't really. Well, okay, this is a hard question. I love my rugby. I'm a big rugby girl. Big rugby girl. I was
Me
brought
too.
up watching rugby with my dad, and I'm obsessed. Like, honestly,
Who's
you'll
your
find
team?
me if you can't find me on a Friday night, and there's a rugby match on. That's where you'll find me.
Right? Okay. Like, I'm in the
But
northwest.
what?
I'm in the northwest, right? St. Helens.
Okay.
Big rugby town. Rugby league. It's like where it is. What's your team?
Ulster Rugby.
Maybe we should go to a match together. That would be
Definitely.
fun.
Definitely. Around our birthdays.
We could have a joint birthday rugby party thing. Funness. Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm totally down for this.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
also hockey. Look, I know rugby is like violent, but hockey is ruthless. I'm sorry. People are mean with those hockey sticks. I can't do hockey. They're mean.
But no, I
Are
do.
you one of those?
One
Are
of
you
those
vicious with a
what?
hockey stick? Yeah, are you a shin smacker?
No,
Is that you?
no, I'm a very clean hockey player.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't want to play
If you
hockey
ran
with you.
that the wrong way, maybe not.
Okay.
So yes,
She's
my
putting the
question
gauntlet
would
down.
probably be, my answer would probably be hockey to play and rugby to watch.
Okay, that's fair. I like that. That's fair. It's nice and fair. You got both. I like it.
I'm not exactly a rugby. I wouldn't really like to play rugby.
I would like to have, whole bones in my body. That would be great.
Me too.
Well, it has been so nice to have a chat with you today, Amy. Thank you so much for joining us on TikTok Live for our Twinkl Talks EYFS podcast live episode. If people want to find out more about what you do and maybe they want to move to Northern Ireland and train to be a teacher and teach in your nurseries, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twinkl Northern Ireland Facebook page and Instagram, and also then Twinkl Northern Ireland TikTok, which we're on now. So hop on over and you will be able to find us there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, birthday twin. It's been a lovely evening. Thank you everybody else for joining us as well. And hopefully we'll get to do this again soon.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Super! Thank you so much, Amy, for chatting with us today. Now, did you know as well that Twinkl Northern Ireland have their own podcast called Wee Buns? How cute is that? I love it. I love it. Apparently, it's a very common phrase in Northern Ireland, and I know that Amy will do a fantastic job. So go and check them out on social media and go and listen to their podcast as well. Now, we've got one more episode left in this mini-series. We're going to be talking to Samaya from the United Arab Emirates next episode, and that will finish our mini-series, and it'll be back to the normal schedule. I say normal. Is it really ever normal with me? But it'll be fun anyway. And also, we'll be unveiling our brand new look. We've had a little bit of a update in terms of the episode covers, and we're really excited to show you our little refresh in terms of our look. So, until that time, have a great week, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye. So that's it for today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you would like to join in or would like to know more, then come and find us on our social media sites. We have a Facebook page, Facebook groups, an Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube. All the links of where to find us will be in our podcast description. Come and join the conversation. And whatever you're doing today, I hope you have a great day.